Hello, so I thought I'd record a run through of the assignment help sheet. This is 5 minutes max, according to the app, so hope I can get through it quickly. So this assignment's about social inequality. So as an introduction, you might want to say, social inequality means that certain groups are given pride of place and the hierarchy, and some people are powerful and some people aren't, and things like that. And then into the main body, you're talking about how it affects health. So you could first of all define health. Why might it be difficult to measure? Well, it's difficult to measure because different people define health in different ways. And obviously, if you ask people are healthy, they might think they are, but not be. Then we're going to define concepts like mortality rate. Mortality rate is the death rate. The suicide rate is obviously the amount of people that commit suicide. Per 100,000, I think it is for suicides, per thousand for death rate. And you want to give examples of mortality rate for each one. The whole point is that social class groups, racial groups, etc., they might have a higher death rate than other groups, and obviously that's not fair. Suicide rates, we know, for example, that men commit suicide more than women. Then we're going to be thinking about the terms like stereotyping, prejudices, labeling, self-fulfilling prophecy, attitudes, discrimination, marginalization, and you want to apply each of them to the discussion below on the different social groups. So, for example, marginalization means to be pushed out of society. One could argue that disabled people are marginalized because they're less likely to work, they're less likely to be pictured on television and in the media and things like that. So then the next bit is to explain each of the below terms and give evidence for each one. So I'm not going to go through each of them in turn because it'll take longer than 5 minutes. But if you think of take one of them, so sexual orientation. So sexual orientation, if you are gay or lesbian or part of the LGBTQ community, you're more likely to have certain mental health problems. You also might be less likely to go to the doctors because you might be worried about what the doctor may say to you and the fact that they might discriminate against you. Suicide rates are higher. Obviously, homophobia exists, so that adds to the kind of differences in health. You want to put evidence in these things, so data. You could go to the Office for National Statistics, the census, the campaign groups for each of the areas. So for sexual orientation, one of the campaign groups is called Stonewall. And you want to do that for each one in turn. So the idea is, how do these things affect health? Also, how could we change that? Then demographic data. So demographic data is data on demographic data. Demographic data is population data. So essentially what we're saying is, what are the changes in the population? How do we know that? And how do the healthcare services use that in their planning? So, for example, birth and death rates. Birth rates have gone down, death rates have gone down. Why is that? Improved nutrition and things like that. Same with family and household size, it's gone down. Migration means movement around. So, for example, immigration has gone up quite a lot. Life expectancy has also gone up. So obviously, in relation to healthcare, we need to know about that, don't we? So if people are living longer, we need to plan for that in the hospitals. If there's more immigration, potentially there's more people, so we need more hospital places. In relation to that, we find out from things like the census, from the Office for National Statistics. How do we use this data? Well, one of the things that we do to use this data is, for example, I'm 42 now, but when I was 40, I received a message that asked me to go to the doctors for a kind of health MOT. That's a use of demographic data. They know that I'm 40 and they're using that to plan their services. The last criteria is about the theories and how useful are they for explaining patterns and trends and for explaining how we might improve society for the better. So, for example, feminism, they look at gender. One of the things that we know is that healthcare is sexist. How do we change that? We might, give doctors training on sexism. How would we improve the services? Perhaps make them so that more female doctors, so that women feel comfortable going to the doctors. It's up to you which is the most important and useful theory. Okay, thank you.